Welcome back, everyone. We've had some blinders today, starting ages ago with Bleed's debut as they took on Grand Team. We moved into Endpoint versus Sashi. We saw the OG affair, the overturned result. And finally, we had Heroic versus Sprout. We got another little chance to see how the eye test looked for Bleed in their game versus Avangard, and we've made it here. The bookend of the night, the last game for EU. We'll be keeping our solo peepers on. It's Inter SG versus FNATIC, and it started off with HPM taking the wall bank, the body, and the battle back with the dualies to silence FNATIC in the opening pistol early on, Vince. 3 players remain to clinch this one.
And speaking of OGs, we have Crim still alive in his 1v3 post plan. Afro joins him and QB, the 2 of which are in main, but they get completely demolished. Bout comes through with 2 quickfire frags, and all 5 players of Inter SG survive. A team I think it's safe to say, Jacky, we don't know a huge amount about, but they've got this far into the qualifier. Have to assume that these guys have some serious skill and ability level. And FNATIC, I mean, they were just dazed and confused, got barreled over. They at least get a post plant, so it's going to be weapons in. But early doors into SG looking solid.
It's a nice round to take. A big head to potentially lop off as well. Obviously, this FNATIC roster, kind of an amalgamation of some of the players that were floating around post-roster moves. You've tried to rebuild, you've kept Crims. You can't really lose him at this point, Vince. The big brand basically is the embodiment of FNATIC throughout the history achieved over his playing career. So still alive and kicking in the roster, like you said, supported by some potential firepower. Some names that could go big at times. I've always liked the look of Afro. I feel like he does deal some damage. And man, Crims, invoke his name. He comes out swinging, hits the first on the Galil. Afro takes a piece of the pie and Inters. They might have taken that opening round, Vince, but it looks like the second could slip through the fingertips.
Yeah, they certainly have to keep their eyes on the prize here, but Inter SG actually decide that they are done in this round. They want no part of that retake. They're going to save, keep a Galil M4 and an MP9 in play, and come back into the next round and try and go again. Certainly can't fault them for this decision, especially with how difficult the site is to go ahead and retake with low plays. Like Brazil is down to just 32 HP. And yeah, I mean, talking about Crims, he is Mr. FNATIC at this point. He's been at the org since, I want to say 2016. I think he's been there for like a good nearly 8 years at this point. Just incredible, really. I mean, the loyalty he's had to the team. He is the team. But more importantly than that, he's not some kind of like pity pick. The guy is still a monster. He is still capable of delivering at the very highest levels of Counter-Strike. Crims is not done just yet. He can still bang with the best of them.
Oh, mate, your boy Lars Freddie Jonasson. He's always going to go hard in the paint in CS, Vince. It's in his blood. I had a good chat with him back at one of the more recent seasons of Pro League. We had a conversation about the power of snus and how it fuels his competitive gaming. He said sometimes he wakes up, double snusses, plays 100 hours of deathmatch. It's just the sort of guy he is, and it's why he's still so lethal on the server, Vince. Always going to have his spot in Counter-Strike. And into these rounds, he's had a few opportunities to strike against the CTs, finding a few opening frags and getting the ball rolling for FNATIC into these ones. It's a 3 versus 2 at the minute. You've got a scout and an MP9 to work with, limited utility outside of the one big HE, a potential bowling ball for VNS. And he's going to have to use it to find a strike in this 1v3 he's now left in. Bomb's still miles away, lurking back outside of middle as well, as all of the frags have just fallen into the laps of FNATIC.
Bit of a gutter ball shot for the first one. FNS gives his position away and has to quickly turn tail and run away. He knows that T is going to be breathing down his neck. That scout also will be a weapon they want to try and deal with. Has that one-tap potential to the cranium of any of these FNATIC players. They have tons of time. They can even stall the plant if they want to. However, if they do go up against them 1v1, they do run into the trap of potentially losing too many guns and making this a costly round. Keep in mind that QB and additionally Crims down to below $500 before the end of this one. So you don't want to sacrifice too much on your endeavors. So it's looking like FNS will be able to hold on to this scout. But FNATIC will get their third consecutive bomb plant and a 2-1 lead. So off to the races. But I don't know, the early stages of this game, Jacky, are giving me some good vibes about this potentially being a fairly close game. I think that into SG, off the litmus test of just having a quick peek across at these guys, have some serious aim on them. I maybe spoke too soon, though. They do go hunting for FNS. They just wanted to make sure they hacked him down as a pack. They didn't go one by one. They went as a trio, and they got their hunt successfully off. No scout will be bypassing into this 4th round. It's just pistols and nothing else.
So sets FNATIC up here for a nice few rounds on the spin. Should project them quite well into the early T sides of Ancient. But you're right, I'm kind of subscribing to that theory, thinking that there is room for this game to breathe and grow. And it would be a nice one to end it on if we get a bit of a blockbuster towards the end of the night. Whoever takes it, just at least keep it close. Give us some glorious CS to round things out here for the first day of EU. If you're unaware, it's ending a little bit shorter than we first thought today, just with the initial tech issues. No issue, though, at middle when it comes to clearing out the CTs for FNATIC, as they mop that one up easy peasy, like a spilt drink with one sheet.
Efficient, yeah, super efficient. But Inter SG didn't really invest anything into the round, so M4s will be coming straight up. No AWP, however, which could be a problem, but we've already discussed that maybe AWPing in CS2 early on at least can be a bit of a double-edged sword. FNS instead goes for the M4A4. I'll be looking to try and lock that area down with the automatic rifle. HPM tosses in the nade. Nothing, though, connects. Smoke down onto Donut's going to segregate him from his teammate in the red room, and that allows FNATIC to try and take a bit of systematic mid-control. And they will take this, no problems at all. Trim's leading the investigation as Maddie's clears up the frag onto FNS. There'll be no evidence left as he goes in for 2, but Body will fall by the wayside. Bout trying his best to hold on to the site, joined by Brazil, but the 2 of them have been carved away from CBM, who can do little from CT spawn, but hope and pray that the T's make some massive blunders at this point. And so far, so good for FNATIC, tossing down their utility and making sure that CBM is kept at arm's reach.
And this round looks to be elementary, my dear Watson, as they've walked away with this one quite quickly. Nothing really to be done for CBM. Ooh, holding on to his rifle might even be a tall task. Turns tail and gets shot in the back of the head as QB peeks out and strikes with the Kalashnikov. X-ray in the hands, X-ray vision for his timing. So, first 4 rounds instantly achieved for FNATIC. Inter's being able to pick up that opening pistol round that looked quite clean. It looked like the stature of them was good when it came to the rifles, but they just can't find the course correction to get a grip on the game since then. And this isn't going to be an easy one either. What's the call here? You've got to do something a bit unorthodox. Can't just play it out like a rifle round. You've got a limited bite to work with. 1 smoke for Brazil, 2 players rocking the Kevlar, rest of them peppered with upgraded pistols here and there. A Deagle, a P250, and a 5.7. You're going for basically a full stack here on the B bomb site with VNS close towards the cave hole. They come in and clear the default angle. Crim's good for 2. A bit of a cheeky run boost to draw the crosshair. It's awkward. It's a bit rough, but it still just results in a murder pile on the ramp.
Afro was spoilt for choice. It was like, do I shoot the stilts or do I shoot the danger at the top? But in doing so, kind of straight down the middle, scores himself a spare. Brazil, in the meanwhile, just with the USP, has no reason to hold on to this, has nothing really to save. No Kevlar, no nades, nothing whatsoever. So he's going to be going in, trying to pick himself off ahead, but both players are healthy at 100 and 74 HP respectively. So he's going to just turn tail and run away, maybe treat this almost like a mini tactical timeout. Just annoy FNATIC as much as possible. You know, we've been talking a lot today as well, Jacky, about all these new rosters and like players coming in within the last couple of weeks. Keep in mind, FNATIC made 3 roster changes at the end of November, at the end of last year. So just a couple of months ago, really. Body, Matties, and QB all came in. QB apparently is still on trial. They haven't fully selected him as of yet. So this in itself was a new roster as well. And yet they're looking very well coordinated, a well-oiled machine on some of these set plays.
It was interesting, wasn't it, as well, right? Because there was kind of a timeline where you could see the debate of some people thinking maybe this is the end of FNATIC investing into CS after they lost some of the big name players they had, right? With Mezzi departing, with the roster kind of feeling like it had imploded a little bit. But they stay strong. They stay inside of Counter-Strike. A project here that I think, you know, kind of really does need to prove what it can do. It's a bit of an unknown quantity in terms of this exact 5. At the minute, they're going for a B bombardment to keep the dream alive. And QB, man's on it. Armed with the AK and absolutely assaults. Really dealing damage on that one. His 3 frags make the difference of the round for FNATIC. And blinking, you would have missed it, Vince. If you've sneezed, that round's gone by.
Blitzkrieg barrage from the trialist as he just goes straight in for the jugular of Inter SG. And apart from that pistol round, which was clinical and clean, everything barring that few moments of mayhem has been as efficient as you could really like. I mean, surgical from FNATIC and how ruthless they've been on these engagements. It's great to see Crims also taking kind of like an entry fragging role as well at times, going first for his team, and he's having tons of success. Just as we said, he may be on the wrong end of 30, but he's still dropping frags. He's still a real pain in the backside. Matty's and QB both double up, and Matty's watching his back, making sure his 6 is covered. Will get 3 kills. Yes, it's against pistols, but again, FNATIC looking effortless on their endeavors to pick up a 7-1 lead.
HPM, hoping that maybe he could find some upsetting maneuvers with the Deagle, playing close towards the pillar on this site, but from pillar to post, he's been taken out of the round, and FNATIC really just coasting through this one. It did look like maybe there was room for this to be quite a exciting game of CS towards the end of the night, but FNATIC just steamrolling now, picking up so much momentum. Crims has been absolutely unleashed, and it almost looks like he's a bit more rejuvenated in terms of willing to just take fights, maybe not as structured in his roles towards the roster at the minute, where he's kept on a bit more of a leash. He is able to just take fights where he wants them and throw that name value around. Might just be a nature of the open qualifier, feeling confident. But boy, is it working at the minute. This is a nice way to try and command some respect back, though. Lane control taken. Finally, we see the B players using their initiative and utility to get that respect. VNS as well in the classic angle towards Temple. Actually gets ahead of the Molotov. He's going to be able to crouch round the back of the smoke. They've gone up on boost. Haven't seen him. No reaction. The shot comes out, Vince, but it's a double miss. He's panicking. He's sweating. And the AWP's been dropped at his knees.
Oh, so much sweat that the AWP slips out of his hands and he gets punished in a round that Inter SG had to hold on for dear life. They've let it get down into a 2-on-2, and it's Afro and QB that stand against them. AWP and AK collectively, 50 seconds on the clock as well, more than enough time to make sure all those angles are covered, to allow Afro to relocate into a better position. The timing could work against. No, he just saw the shoulder of CBM on CT side. Will they anticipate that Brazil is also here? He is checking his angles, doing his due diligence, having a quick peek across. This kill means so much, and he's not going to check his right-hand side. The barrel of the gun betrays him. And that gives Inter SG now a golden opportunity to pounce into this one. They don't need to get overzealous. The spray is good. 20 seconds remain. And QB knows that Brazil was last seen on CT side. And if he wasn't aware of that, now he's become very acutely aware as Brazil rattles off an AWP shot by his head. Post-plant comes in. Suddenly, the whole dynamic of this round shifts in favor of FNATIC. So difficult to get this AWP to work. With 3 kills already, Brazil has to go one better. Trades up to the M4 for the run and gun. Does he want to come through on CT side or maybe flank Temple? He decides to just rush straight into the head of QB, and in doing so, dispatches of him post-haste, securing Inter SG with their second round.
You love to see the confidence as well. Switching weapons, going for the faster play. And honestly, mate, that felt like a jump scare. You got to think QB was probably caught off guard by the sheer speed of the re-peak once he had changed to the M4. Comes swinging out like he had just got to the end of the scary maze game, screaming in his face to take the second round. Bit of body hurt after the fact as well, proving that they're hyped up right now. They're probably living their dream at this point, starting to get rounds off FNATIC, seeing how far they can take this one. So 7-2, Inter SG, bit more momentum, but you've got to command respect towards B. This has been a big weak point for them. Mac 10, in this day and age, it's worth its weight in gold, and it's a bold maneuver. Matty's with one, tried to double up, ammunition an all-time low, couldn't commit onto the second player, but the retake's not going to be easy. Yeah, you've still got a bit of control towards Cave, but that's the AWP. Body's already spamming into the smoke. He can see around the edges of that one, so he knows they're rotating back in. Brazil's gone for the boost over the top and wants to bait in QB, but he rips the head off, Vince.
Oh, big kill, though, from HPM. Evens the odds and maybe baits into SG, into still going for this retake. They kind of have to start making moves, though. They're running out of rounds on this half. 8-2 is not a good enough scoreline on the CT side of Ancient, but there's not really anything else that HPM can do in a 1v3 with no time and only a kit with a smoke alongside him. So it's a bitter pill to swallow, but one he has to, as he will tap out into this 2-8 score. So important he doesn't lose this weapon now on top of everything else, seeing as that would be a potential drop weapon across. So he's just going to hide and hope for the best. And indeed, he will survive, but it's at great cost. And it does feel like it's a rejuvenated Crims. It does feel like this is a guy playing with a newfound freedom. And maybe that is some of the change that comes in, not just with the roster change here, Jacky, but the fact that Dexter's no longer eye-gelling for this team. Now Body is. That can breathe the fresh air of life into players that maybe felt shackled under the last regime and now freed up. Maybe that's what we're seeing from Crims.
I think so. I think those changes have really given him a little bit more freedom to kind of just be Crims and go for those kind of fights, go for those early aggressive plays. And he's thriving in it right now. You can see that he's enjoying himself with just the body language in CS, the way that he's taking these encounters. For Inter SG, though, your body language has got to change when it comes to your defense towards B. They're far too loose and breezy. They're giving up a lot of space towards ramp, a lot of space towards cave, and it's the utility usage that's going to make the difference. With money at an all-time low here, they've opted to prioritize the weapons outside of the util. For B site, that might come back to haunt you, as you just cannot keep the T's at arm's length. They're able to find their way into cave quite easily. 3 players set up for the deep ramp control. Body's playing on the off angle. You do take down the AWP at least in Afro, but no response from Body. Bides his time for the peak. Trigger discipline's good for 1. Shuts him down. Matty's POV, we catch the second as he wanders in through the smoke, and the numbers are down to just 2 again. You're not really going to have a good grasp on this B site now, Vince. 40 seconds on the clock. They've still got nades, and they've got the flank in Red Room. It's all going down the pan.
BNS, nice flick across, but needs to go on better. Won't be happening. 9-2. And again, you're just seeing FNATIC being so methodical on their approach. You know, it's not just ruthless aggression. It's not just mindless brute force, like they somehow have this huge overinflated ego of we can just beat you in duels, therefore we'll just hold W. Now there's a lot of method to the madness of what we're seeing. Crims getting through red early on, securing the rotational play, Body taking his time, anticipating they may push past with 2 players and try and rush back through catwalk. It's so nice to see FNATIC like this. And Inter's, I mean, they're just being completely outplayed, Jacky. Like, across the board, they can't hang with FNATIC as it stands.
They really can't at the minute. You're trying to go toe-to-toe in the middle of the cell, and it is just not working for you. FNATIC just looking by far a cut above, and also just playing with so much more confidence. And the other thing is as well, right, it's that utility usage. It's such a big part of Ancient. If you can't control the map with your util, you are giving up far too much control. And again here, the fact that T's have already been able to waltz their way in through Red Room, Vince, with mere seconds off the clock, it's a bad sign. Sure, you've been able to at least find the pick back on the Crim, so you stop the bleeding there, but they're inside of cave. They've got deep ramp control as well for free. Brazil's basically made the difference, at least getting the follow-up frag on the QB, but you've taken a ton of damage, and the AK on Body was looking for the headhunt, looking for that opening pick. This has drawn all the attention towards him. They swing from cave, run for the trade on Afro's AWP, and you're down to a 2v2 that's not looking good for the CTs.
Man, such a nice bait and switch from Body, and my god, did Inter fully bite down on that. Flick from Afro, not even required. The jump didn't quite work out for Brazil. He was the lower player, so he sacrifices himself to the CS gods and hopes and prays that HPM can answer that call, but he's given his position away. That one tick of Molotov gave Afro the perfect nuts position, and he will devour in kind. 10-2, the first halftime scoreline. FNATIC in cruise control.
They're running away with it here. 8 rounds up. looking like an absolute hurricane with how they have just been blowing them away, round in, round out. And for Inter SG, you're basically facing do or die on the cards for a pistol round now. You know you need to pick this one up on your T side. And not only that, you have to keep things going basically flawlessly the entire way through. That is the really scary part about it. You've got to keep it going without any mistakes. Whereas FNATIC, they're going to be feeling quite confident knowing they are a few rounds away from potentially ending their night in day one of the PGL RMR qualifiers. Bit of a muddled up play at middle, but it won't matter. The CTs turn and burn with a USP as the silencers reign supreme and just 3 men with Glocks go barraging into the site.
And they don't need to peek. They know they have the strength in numbers. Even if one player falls, the bomb has now been dropped in a horrible spot. And Crim's perched up is not going to miss out on these chances. Heavy damage inflicted with Afro taking the frag. And FNS may get the drop on one, but now his position is compromised. He is quite literally in the middle of 3 players. And it's QB, the German, that comes through, shuts him down from the back, takes the second pistol, and surely in doing so has secured the W for FNATIC. I don't want to count my, checkers before they've hatched or any of those kind of situations here. But honestly, the way this game has gone, Jacky, I can't see how Inter's come back into this. One of their 2 rounds was literally the first pistol round of the entire match.
And it was a good pistol round, Vince. It gave us a lot of faith. It gave us a lot of stock in thinking, you know what? They're looking pretty crisp right now. Maybe they can take them through the ringer. But with how it's gone, it feels like it's going to be quite a short end towards the night here, with FNATIC finally being able to finish things off for their run in today's qualifier as they absolutely decimate on entry. The bouncer was ready at the door, and FNATIC have commanded respect once again in this matchup. 12-2, 1 round away from putting the final nail in the coffin and closing shop for the night, joining some of the other big names like OG, like Bleed, like Sashi that have made it through into day 2 of the EU qualifier. The Witchers as well being in that camp. Awful lot of talent from European CS who have already finished their arduous journey in day 1 of the quals, and FNATIC could be joining them in a few moments.
Really should be joining them in what could be just a few seconds away as Afro and Body go to work again. It is an even trade, but the HP bars wouldn't suggest that's the case. Bounton and VNS limping their way towards the site, and Crims, although Flash sprays down and gets 1, I think there's a bit of team damage as well to the back of Brazil's head. Here comes Matties, catches them both with their pants down, and FNATIC get it